retired Gbevlo Lartey had been relieved of his position as the National Security Coordinator. Reasons were not assigned for that, but subsequently we are hearing a whole lot of reasons being given, speculations being given as to why he may have lost that job. I want to start with, you are the Deputy Interior Minister. Tell me, what do we know about why the President decided that he ought to change him?
No. First of all, I think I made this submission earlier in our discussion that the President alone is clothed with the power to appoint the National Security Coordinator. Sometimes, some presidents have elevated that position to a ministerial rank. Under President Kufuor, Francis Spoku was a minister. I mean, he sat in cabinet. And so it is his preserve to determine who he wants to be his national security coordinator. In the case of Gbevlo Lartey, he's been in that position for close to 5 years. He was first appointed by the late President Mills. When President Mahama took over as president of the country after the demise of President Mills, of course, he maintained him as a security coordinator. I don't think there is bad blood at all between Gbevlo Lartey and President Mahama. That is most important. There is no bad blood. I am reliably informed that the day the announcement came, clearly the President had previously met with Gbevlo Lartey. I mean, they discussed, his exit. There was no bad blood. In fact, on the very day the announcement came, we were at the Ghana Maritime Authority premises where the President commissioned the vessel tracking and monitoring, system, which is now in place, and Ghana can track vessels, at a distance of 1,000 nautical miles. That is an achievement for our maritime security, in this country. We are now in a better position to police our, marine resources, our oil in particular, and of course to ward off piracy attacks in our maritime domain. That is an achievement. On that occasion, Gbevlo Lartey was present. Even though if what I'm hearing is anything to go by, he had previously sat with the President and discussed his exit. That, his presence at that function was a clear demonstration that, listen, they understand themselves. The President probably wants to implement some strategies and has some other important assignment for Gbevlo Lartey. You see, and so for me, it's not something people should worry about. It's not something people should worry about. That, he paid glowing tribute to Gbevlo Lartey for being instrumental in bringing to fruition the vessel tracking and monitoring, surveillance system that is now in place. It was very instrumental in getting us to, of course, put in place the system with support from some other country and all that. Yes, now, if there's a sharp distinction if you compare how Gbevlo Lartey, of course, the announcement came and how things were done in the past, where a security minister was virtually hounded out of power. It was like a coup d'etat. Then you see that in the case of Gbevlo Lartey, his exit has been very civil. There is a lot of civility. There is calm. There is peace. There's no cause for alarm. Nobody can question the President's decision because he alone is clothed with that power.
Right. Kuku, rightly put, the President has that power. He's clothed constitution not to give anybody any reasons for the decisions he takes about the people he appoints or disappoints. But that will be law. Yet the people who gave the President the mandate to be President still have a right to ask the questions, even if answers will not come. Using the coach and player analysis again, you don't change your best performing player.
Well. But before I deal with it, let's clarify some one or two things. There's a distinction between a Minister of National Security and a National Security Coordinator. And you go into the law. I believe now, as we speak, there may be a minister or a ministry that is responsible for security. If you look at that the coordinator, the security agency is responsible for, because if you read section 17.
You're reading the Security and Intelligence Act? Which one of this are you reading?
This is Security and Intelligence Act, 1996.
1996?
Yes.
The Agencies Act.
Okay.
Yeah. But section 17.
Yeah.
Ministerial responsibility for the intelligence agencies and annual report to Parliament. It says the President shall assign ministerial responsibility for the intelligence agencies to such minister as the President shall consider appropriate. The minister assigned responsibility under subsection 1 of this section shall, in respect of each year, submit a report to Parliament on the intelligence agencies. By 18, this is the National Security Coordinator, they shall be appointed by the President in accordance with the advice of the Council, that's the National Security Council,
right,
given in consultation with the Public Services Commission, an officer to be designated as the National Security Coordinator, referred to in this act as the coordinator. Now, he mentioned Francis Puku and all that. Francis Puku at one stage was National Security Coordinator, not Minister. 2006, he was promoted, or if you like, nominated, rather, as Minister for National Security. When he moved in there, Dr. Amu, if you recall, became National Security Coordinator. Tutubi Kwachi was Minister of National Security. At that time, I think either was Mr. Kwansen or Asasijima, who were National Security Coordinator. My memory fails me briefly on this matter. So there's always an extension. And really, I think we can forget about how Francis Puku exited. It has no relevance to what has happened here. And this is just part of the propaganda. You know. The point really is that, as you just indicated, this is the President's preserve, you know, to appoint or disappoint, as it were. So normally, we should have left things stay there. But predictably, we are always doing speculation. We know the tradition is that the President is not obliged to give reasons. We've discussed this thing over and over again. But the fact that he's not obliged to give reasons sows the seeds also for speculators and speculation. And that's exactly what people are doing. I have no knowledge as to the exact reason why the President has asked Mr. Gbevlo Lartey to exit. He's on leave, I'm told. My own bird whispered into my ears that he might be one of the beneficiaries of this ambassador designated portfolios and things in the future. That's what a bird whispered into.
I see. A
bird within the corridors of power whispered into my ears. It may come true or it may not. It's just what I've heard. But you see, people are discussing issues. My attitude, he's a fine soldier. He was a fine soldier, commander of the 64, if you like, the dreaded 64 Infantry Regiment. He became a lawyer. I think that really gave him wider horizon. So his appointment, I had nothing against it. But I think, and we've discussed this over and over again, I think that he adopted a certain activist approach. People say that meant he was demystifying the office. He may be. That's not my problem. But the consistency with which he engaged the public on debate and arguments, and the emphasis is on the debates and the arguments over controversial issues, began to have a toll.
Did you do that occasionally or frequently?
Oh, there were many instances. Look, the pin shake thing, he was on air arguing. The toll booth thing was on air arguing, not just arguing, but justifying it. Okay, and there were a few other instances that the argument, the debate based on controversial issues tended to bring that office into a certain level of disrepute. Not that he obviously own making. The public perception was that, look, what is going on here? Okay, so, for instance, the Legon thing, if it was a matter of public nuisance, in my view, the MTTU had not been dissolved. At that material moment in our history, the local authorities had not been dissolved. If it indeed is public nuisance, you check the law. It doesn't take national security operatives or operation to cure that mischief of public nuisance. So when you do that and then you come and debate, then it becomes an issue. So I think those things affected him. But I'm not suggesting for a moment that the president asked him to exit based on those things. I have no such information. I am just looking at him and contrasting his style to previous national security coordinators, Kwansen, Asasi Jima, you know, Francis Poku as then, you know, very muted but effective and efficient.
Nitu, you know Dr. Kwesienin of the Kofi Annan Center, he says the reason could be that there's been a certain militarization or remilitarization of national security.
I think
that's more serious than that is very serious.
It is true to some extent, but I will agree with him just a little bit, not the way he put it. That the style of Gbevlo Lartey was smartly different from that of even the one who has taken over, Yaldonko, and the one who, Francis Poku, and even the Totobi Kwachi. They were very reserved. Hardly did you see their pictures in the newspapers, or you didn't even know them. If Yaldonko, for example, I don't know how many Ghanaians know him. Francis Poku had the same demeanor, and you could hardly even hear them. You know, they were working in the background, but Gbevlo Lartey
are the same people who complain that, you know, they are not accessible and all.
No, Gbevlo Lartey had a certain demeanor, a certain style. He was the out one there, calling on radio stations and arguing and making his point, and sometimes behaving like we're during the Rawlings PNDC days, take the law into use, not just the law, go out there and use force and do whatever he wants to do and get away with it. I think that, I'm not sure that is the reason he was removed, but I think some newspapers had predicted that he was going to go, even before a long time. He was going to go and that he was going to be an ambassador. I remember about 6 months ago, a certain newspaper published the Gbevlo Lartey out and that he would become an ambassador and something like that. I believe many people expected it anyway. So he had his style.
You joined the group that say that it is really not about the Legon campaign, you know.
Oh no, not at all.
Professor Akosia and her group in Legon sent a petition to the president asking him to remove him because of the action he took.
No, not at all.
Well, we may never know.
I don't
cannot be categorical.
Right, because the reasons have not been given.
That's the point.
No, the reasons were not given, but I don't think that is the real thing, because you have to find out the attitude of the people in government. The views of the people in government, whether they were in support of the issues of Legon or not, at least in Parliament. In Parliament as a stand, so all those who were in government didn't like the way the Legon issue went, particularly the authorities. Okay, so for me, if that were replicated at the Flagstaff House or at the Jubilee House, then I would say that it may not be the issue at all. But I think that maybe the president had taken that decision, but because of certain other things, decided to wait a bit and see how things would go, and now believes that this is the right time for him to do.
So their campaign may just have been a coincidence.
No, I think that let's leave that to the president. It may have added fuel to it. It may have added fuel for the president to say, well, I believe this is the right time for you to go. I've stabilized myself in terms of security and that kind of stuff. And I think that he was right. The way the issues began at first, it was just right that you keep a system as it is and start removing. And I think that if you watch the way the president is also going, he's putting in his people in there gradually. He's taking out the Mills and the Rawlings people out gradually, and putting his people there along the line. He's also trying to build. Why are you interjecting?
Who are the Rawlings and Mills?
Why are you interjecting? We all know. Please, we all know what is going on. So,
I'm sure this is not something that one should talk about. Yaldonko is not exactly in that faction as you are talking about. He was very loyal to Professor Mills.
Yes.
Very loyal.
No, I do know.
So
I do know that your friend's friend can be my friend.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean Yaldonko has one friend.
Now, Godwin, you look at it from this point of view. Like I pointed out to him, the same Ghanaians would say that you are not accessible. This is a security coordinator who decided to make himself available, and there's a complaint also about that. What do you say about that? For you, as far as you are concerned, when we have to deal with a national security coordinator, should we have one who has this mystery about him or one who is out there and seen?
Security issues are very complex issues.
And when you find lay persons pontificating on who a security coordinator should look like, or the things he should do to coordinate the security of the situation, it's just, I mean, we cannot safely rely on those comments. I believe the president appointed him, or at least retained him, and I believe the president had a sense of what the requirements of a security coordinated office are, and whether he was living up to that task or not, or whether his expertise were also required in other areas.
Well, sometimes they say a new president has no option, has no choice. You don't deal, you don't touch the security, chief like that.
But he has touched him. I mean, because
after, like Koku said, after, or he said, after stabilizing himself over the period.
These are all opinions, and they will remain so long as we have not been told, or we don't know why there have been changes. But really, what is it? I mean, there can be no just one security coordinator, I mean, in the country of 20-something million people. I mean, it's public service. At one point, you are called upon to serve in one capacity. At another point, you have to move for others to also come. And then if we take it like that, in the absence of an official explanation, I think that it should really not be anything. But of course, because his activities...
These are jobs that traditionally you don't have the people being changed because of the sensitive nature of the information that they have with them.
Oh, I don't think that traditionally such people have not been secrecy.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. I don't think that even traditionally, I mean, over the years, we have known people who were security chiefs who at a point, I mean, went off silently. I mean, we didn't know, but in fact, they exited. So it's, I think in his case, it's because at a certain point, his activities attracted public attention. So that also, I mean, will make the public very much curious, or, I mean, interested in finding out why has he been relieved of his position? Is it because of this or that? But as I said, it's public service, so you come, you serve, you go, someone too comes and he serves, and his time to come, and life goes on.
The president says he will be reassigned sometime later, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so he has not been sacked, contrary to what others say. He's to be reassigned. That is the distinction.
Right.
The man was keeping a job. He's no more keeping a job. He say he has been.
To be reassigned. I see.
He was not sacked. In the true sense of it. He was
Right.
being reassigned.
Yeah.
But he on leave now.
No, well, as I said today, he's sitting in the house.
No longer the national
He's
coordinator.
supposed to be on
He
leave.
doesn't have a job for now. He's not
be
been
on
paid.
leave.
He's on leave.
So by 15th May, he's supposed to go.
Yeah, but he's on leave.
And unless the president assigns him,
Once again,